Ridiculous.
Ridiculous, but I bet it was for a significant amount of money.
Still ridiculous.
Yeah, but fun. I'd watch it. Look, Jake Paul wants to test himself against actual, not just world champion, but one of the greatest of all time.
Really fought, and it wasn't fixed. Jake Paul would not survive 45 seconds.
I don't know about that. I think it would take a few rounds.
Really?
But yeah, first of all, Jake is a lot bigger. Jake's a lot bigger.
But what way would they?
Not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started up. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. It makes no sense for me. It's not my what I'm looking at right now.
Joe Rogan was shocked to hear that Jake Paul had offered Francis Ngannou the chance to be his next opponent after his fight with Gervonta Davis was canceled. On his podcast, Rogan called the idea insane and even reckless for Jake. He said Ngannou is one of the hardest punchers in combat sports and questioned whether Jake really understands what he's getting into. Still, Rogan admitted that if the fight actually happened, it would be a massive spectacle that fans everywhere would tune in to see.
Francis telling the story. Nikita calls Francis and says, hey, we need your help. We need an opponent for Jake. Tank is out. And Francis says, all right. And Francis says, well, how can I help you? Nikita says, well, we're looking at an opponent for Jake. Tank Davis is out. And Francis says, all right, but specifically, how can I help you? Nikita takes a third swing at the bat. He says, well, we need an opponent. We need a boxer. We need a partner. We need somebody to fight Jake. Tank is out. And Francis asks him again, okay, what specific...
Jake Paul's exhibition match with Gervonta Davis fell apart because of serious legal issues surrounding Davis. After that, Jake and his team started searching for a new opponent, and one of the names that came up was Francis Ngannou. The former UFC heavyweight champion, known for his size, power, and knockout strength, Ngannou is easily one of the most dangerous men in combat sport.
I think the fight is going to be completely canceled and rescheduled, and now we have potential opponent names and some people being ruled out coming into today. This is not a joke. It was said by Mike Coppinger and others that the #1 candidate to replace Tank Davis in a Jake Paul fight, probably on a different date, was going to be Francis Ngannou. What the f? But we have an update on that and other potential names that Jake could fight. Again, I think on a separate date, and why I think the Jake and Tank fight is completely off. No more, maybe, no more, we don't think it'll happen.
Former UFC fighter Michael Bisping highlighted how extreme the size difference would be between Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou. He reminded fans that Jake was originally supposed to fight Gervonta Davis, a lightweight fighter much smaller than Ngannou. Switching from Davis to Ngannou, Bisping said, is like jumping from one end of the spectrum to the other. It's not just a difference in skill, it's a complete mismatch in size, reach, and raw power.
Yeah, Anderson Silva, he was way past his prime. People like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller. Gervonta Davis really did take the piss. I mean, that was just the craziest shout ever. To go from fighting Gervonta Davis, way smaller, to now fighting boxing Francis Ngannou. I mean, listen, if he does it, fair play. But I just call #1 bullshit on this brother because I don't see this happening. No.
This is #1 bullshit.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Nate Diaz, yeah, 100%. I mean, he beat him once already. I'm sure Nate Diaz would love to get another big payday because obviously boxing on Netflix and going up against Jake Paul, given his success, given the name that he has, and given the magnitude of his events, Nate Diaz will get paid an absolute fortune once again. We know that it wasn't too long ago, Jake Paul was talking about boxing Anthony Joshua. And that never came to fruition. There's absolutely no way he would box Anthony Joshua. If he did, if he was to do something like that, whether it be Anthony Joshua or Francis Ngannou, I'd give him his props. I'd give him his credit. And you never know. Maybe he would do it just for the clout. Because in many ways it would be, sorry about the airport notifications, it would be an admirable thing to do. And it will be Jake Paul taking on somebody big.
Francis Ngannou said that Jake Paul's team reaching out to him as a replacement came as a surprise. He explained that the offer felt random and didn't match his current goals. Although money was discussed, Ngannou turned down the idea because it didn't make professional sense. He questioned how it made any logical sense to replace Gervonta Davis, a lightweight, with him, a heavyweight. For Ngannou, it's not about chasing a payday, it's about meaningful fights that fit his career.
Jake to replace Gervonta, I'm like, who's Jake? I was so confused, I wasn't expecting that at all. And he said, yeah, Jake Paul, he's fighting. And I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that. And then they even say even come out after and say, and what if the number are good? He sent out some number. I'm like, it's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started talk. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. He make no sense for me. It's not my...
UFC champion Daniel Cormier gave a direct warning to Jake Paul about what could happen if he actually fights Francis Ngannou. Cormier said that Ngannou's strength, experience, and knockout power are on another level. In his view, Jake isn't prepared for a fighter who hits that hard or moves with that kind of explosiveness. He said this fight isn't just about money or attention, it's about real danger. The risk, Cormier warned, could be far greater than any reward Jake might get from
From fighting Gervonta Davis to calling out Francis Ngannou, Jake Paul don't want those problems. I can't say it any different. Jake Paul does not want any Francis Ngannou problems. He don't. He does not want those issues. While I think it's crazy and I credit him for doing that, and I'm surprised he did that, this could be a ploy. Him poking out his chest, saying, I want Francis. He don't want those Francis Ngannou problems. I don't care what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou. Jake Paul gets in there with Francis. Francis will knock his head off this planet. You don't want those Francis problems. Tyson Fury. Sure, Anthony Joshua beat him. But even if Jake got power, I don't think he got power to be dealing with Francis. Because all it takes is for one.
Cormier also questioned Jake Paul's motives. He suggested that Jake is more interested in publicity than in a real competitive challenge. He pointed out that Jake has never fought a true heavyweight before and may not understand what he's stepping into. In MMA, Ngannou's power is already legendary, but in boxing, that power becomes even more focused and dangerous. Cormier warned that if Jake enters the ring without understanding how to defend properly, the fight could end very quickly.